Greetings from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I am Colonel Celestino Perez. I go by Tino. I'm a U.S. Army colonel and an Army strategist, and I currently serve as a teacher in the Department of National Security and Strategy at the U.S. Army War College. I have two telescoping aims in today's video. My first aim is to introduce a new discussion series via video on the topic of strategy and strategy education. And the idea is to provoke a discussion, perhaps even debate, on the topics of strategy and strategy education by discussing it in ways that are not beholden to long-standing ways of discussing these topics. So I'm looking for freshness. The second telescoping aim is to introduce the concept, or more accurately, to insist upon the concept of strategy is performance. Now, what do I mean by that? My aim here is to turn the dial a bit from study to practice. So strategy is not simply an academic discipline like the study of history, and it's not simply a body of professional concern, to use military jargon, organizing the joint and warfighting functions in order to achieve an end. Strategy entails those things. But strategy is not simply a body of knowledge or an academic discipline. Strategy is performance, which means to do strategy is to do something, and more specifically, to take action in the world in order to achieve desired outcomes. Now, today I want to introduce the argument in 4 parts, which is by stating that strategy, in terms of performance, entails 4 practices. And I want to go through those 4, and then in future episodes, we'll discuss the implications of this way of looking at strategy. So strategy is performance entails 1 practice to begin with, which means normative evaluation. A political philosopher named Leo Strauss once had a nice formulation that I think is useful, where he said that all political action, which includes strategy, and it includes military strategy. All political action is for preservation or change. So when we want to preserve something, we want to preserve something from getting worse. And when we take action in the world to change something, we want to change something to achieve a better state of affairs. So strategy is ultimately about achieving a better state of affairs. It means talking then about better and worse outcomes. So competence in strategy requires competence in talking about better and worse, good and bad. Now, when we do normative evaluation, we don't have recourse to logic or mathematical facts. For instance, 1 + 1 = 2. And we don't have recourse to scientific fact. For example, force is equal to mass times acceleration. Normative evaluation about outcomes entails validity. What can we state that will resonate with other people, other stakeholders, such that they will buy into our way of looking at the world in terms of better and worse outcomes, and then be on our side? So this is a skill that we need to practice if we are going to be competent at strategy. The second practice I want to discuss is entitled Causal Literacy. And what this means, it means looking at the world in terms of a confluence of causes, things that cause human behavior. It's a constellation of forces that we can look at in terms of an obstacle course. In order to achieve a desired end, we need to negotiate an obstacle course. Some of the things in that obstacle course will help us achieve our end. Some of them, over time, will hinder us, and some of those things will conspire to directly oppose us from achieving our end. So in order to do strategy well, we have to be able to know what causes human behavior. And some of these things are indeed human forces, but a lot of them are also immaterial and non-human forces, and we need to come to grips with them. So if one way of looking at the world is as an obstacle course, so we need to negotiate to achieve an aim, another way of looking at the world is in terms of a place where we are going to intervene in order to change the landscape, to change the very obstacle course. Now, it depends what level we're talking about when we discuss the modes of intervention. For example, the modes that the President of the United States has when he or she thinks about intervening in the world relate to diplomacy and information and military power and economic power, etc. When a commander, say a geographic combatant commander, is deciding how to intervene in the world, his or her modes of intervention obviously differ. But in all cases, they're trying to discern how is it that they can use the tools at their disposal in order to achieve a desired outcome. In both cases, we need to understand how forces shape behavior. And this is causal literacy. A key component of strategy is performance. The third one relates to coalition building. So let's suppose that we are in a room and we have various perspectives that are represented by stakeholders in the room, and we produce a strategy that is durable, that is coherent, that we think is going to actually help us achieve our ends. There is no guarantee, based on the power of the intellect introduced into that strategy, that it's going to become the strategy that is actually chosen by decision makers. So another skill in terms of strategic performance is building winning coalitions around this strategy. It means winning those rhetorical and institutional battles amidst those persons who are trying to advance a different view of the world and hence a different strategy. In order to be a good strategist, to think strategically, we have to think in terms of what many people call an engagement plan. We have a good strategy. How are we going to sell it so that it wins out in the decision-making arena? And then finally, I'll discuss the fourth component of strategic performance, which is the canvassing of perspectives, or, to put it otherwise, simply research. In order to do normative evaluation, causal literacy, and coalition building, we actually, as strategists, as planners, have to canvass the various perspectives that are out there. Now, this includes scholarly perspectives, it includes expert practitioner perspectives, and it also includes canvassing the perspectives of those persons who are stakeholders in the situation that we are trying to address in our strategy. Without canvassing perspectives, without hard-nosed research, it is impossible to do normative evaluation, to exercise causal literacy, to build winning coalitions well. In future episodes, we'll unpack each of these four components of strategic performance, and we'll discuss some of the implications of them. Thank you.